This is the Drengr Fieldstrip folder. Hi, I'm Chris, and my inspiration for this knife was a Marine Corps officer's Mameluke sword. So my pathway into knife making was to build this specific knife based on my desire to take the Marine Corps sword and make a pocket knife with all the modern features that you'd expect on a knife, which is a pocket clip, one-handed opening and closing, and a blade lock. Sounded fairly simple on the surface to accomplish that, but when you're trying to maintain the look of the sword, it was actually quite a bit more complex than I thought it was originally going to be, and took a lot of learning on my side to adapt this. You can see I've got a fuller ground into the blade. It's stepped. That step is sandblasted and saber ground on the primary. The handle maintains the look of the sword. I adapted it a bit around the hilt area to fit in the pocket without snagging. One of my first design challenges was to get the scales to fit around the hilt seamlessly, and if you look at a lot of different makers of the Marine Corps sword, they all had a little bit of different interpretations on how to accomplish that fit. It's a really difficult thing to fit, both on the design side and on the machining, fitting, finishing side. It was actually quite difficult to accomplish that. You notice I've got the pocket clip up on the hilt side, which makes it a tip down carry. It's actually, most positions you hold the knife in, a lot of them you don't even feel the pocket clip, you don't even come in contact with the pocket clip in this position. When you grab it in some positive grips, it fits within the natural creases of your hand. I'm left-handed, so I'm showing you in my left hand how this fits in your hand. Ice pick grip, it's out of the way. You can feel it, but it's not uncomfortable whatsoever. Right-handed grip, same thing. A lot of the positions you hold the knife in, you don't even touch the pocket clip. In the positive grip positions, it still hits within the creases, natural creases of your hand. So while you may feel it, it doesn't create a hot spot in your hand, and is very comfortable in multiple grips. Right-handers, ice pick grip, most people's hand sizes, you won't even feel the pocket clip whatsoever on that. So you notice on this, first thing, there is no exposed pivot pin on that. The sword doesn't have a pivot pin, so I could not have a pivot pin on that. So that was first evolution of this knife, was maintaining no pivot pin and this solid back strap, which is not an illusion. That is actually a solid back strap to the frame. I accomplished this by, look at this little pin back here. If you rotate that pin, you expose a little red dot there, which means your frames are unlocked, or you can pivot your frame away and begin to field strip the knife. Rotate out a little ways and you can remove your pocket clip here. It comes out with no tools required. You can set that off to the side, rotate your left hand frame 90 degrees, it comes right off the pivot pin, and now you have the entire insides of your knife within a few seconds exposed. Clean it, replace your blade, replace the pivot spacer, everything. I'm going to show you the full length slot in the right hand frame, runs the entire length of the handle, locks the frames together. A lot of detailed machining to accomplish this. Let me show you on the left hand frame the matching rail, which is a part of the frame, machined as part of the frame, integral to it. It's not screwed on, runs the entire length of the handle. You can get to the rear of the knife, you can see the groove machined out for the takedown pin, and that locks the handles together at the rear of the knife. Putting it back together, you simply slide it on, rotate it back in place, rotate the pin locked. Your knife mounts flush back to the exact same position it was before. Your scales are flush to the back strap, flush to each other. You can do this over and over again. I've done it on my knife hundreds of times, and it goes right back into position. Maintains the strength extremely well, because those hilts they're not cosmetic, they're actually a full they're fully integral to the frames. They're part of the frame. Rotate this back off, give you a better look inside the right hand frame. Your blade lock is recessed into the titanium frame. You press that down, you can remove your blade. You can get a good look here at the pivot pin, which is a massive 8mm hardened steel threaded into the titanium frame. Again, there's your blade lock recessed into the titanium frame. Blade stop pin is fully supported across its entire length, press fit into the frame. You can slide your blade lock right off with no tools. Flip it over. I've got a tolerance number. You can replace your blade lock, same tolerance number. Change out the look and feel of it. Serial number is engraved in both frames. The model is engraved into it, and our motto, "Handle Your Legacy," engraved inside the frame. I'll show you another look at the detailed. There's so many different looks on this knife to accomplish what needed to be accomplished. So I think people that really appreciate mechanical aspects and different things, you'll really appreciate that. This blade lock slides right back on. You press that down, you can put your blade right back on and lock that in position. Once that's locked in position, show you a good angle of that. Once that's locked in position, you can put your left hand frame back on the knife, rotate that, leave a little bit of a space up front there so you can reinstall your pocket clip, which mounts right into that slot, and you give it a little bit of a wiggle. It mounts in the slot in the left hand frame, locks into position, lock your frames into position, right back in the same spot you were before. Scales fit flush to the back strap. You notice the back strap right behind the blade stop. Let me rotate that around. Back strap right behind there is enclosed. There's not an open cavity, and that's because we have the flipper tab at the front of the knife. So you can open this blade with using the flipper tab up front a few different ways. You can open it slowly, rotate it around like that. You can open it a little ways and then give it a flick and open it that way. You can also wrist flick this open. A lot of makers frown on that, but I wrist flick my knife 20-30 times a day. I'm going to switch to my knife here because the other knife is a brand new knife. My knife here, wrist flick it open. Like I say, I've been doing this 20-30 times a day for probably the last 10 months to a year with this, and it's held position very well on the lockup. So I designed it for this. I don't frown on it. I do it myself. I'm going to show you the right hand frame here with the scales and everything stripped off so you can get a good view of it. This is all one piece milled out of 1/2 inch thick titanium. Back strap is all integral to the right hand frame. Right hand frame is the base of the knife. Keeps everything together. Everything, the back strap, that joint, hilts, all integral to the knife. Nothing's screwed together, so it's held together the entire length of the knife. No screws. It's all one piece. A lot of detailed machining to accomplish this. Right hand frame alone takes over 4 hours to machine. So much detailed machining on that. Left hand frame, I'm going to show you how to take the scales off. Scales unscrew from the inside. You take a 2mm Allen wrench, put it in the Allen screw, unscrew it from the outside, and this is so that we can maintain an ornamental look on the screws from the outside. Take advantage of how this knife field strips to leave the outside ornamental and still give you a good tool face inside. We've got a special tool for the lanyard screw. It was a bit of a challenge to design and to machine also. You just slide that in there, and you can use the 2mm Allen wrench to fit in the slot of that tool to unlock it, or you can also use a quarter. It'll fit both, and once you've got that unlocked, you can usually unscrew it by hand, or like I said, use a quarter. Unscrew that lanyard screw out. A little bit difficult here to do with these gloves, but once you've got this unscrewed, like that. Give you a quick look at that lanyard screw. Unique design that we did in-house. You take that lanyard tool and you put it on the outside and then press the scale up against it so you have a stop point, so you don't press the scale too far outwards. You do that because the scale actually slides to the rear of the knife in order to come off the hilt. You can see I've got some tabs machined into the hilt, and those help align your scales so that they don't flex or warp over time, so you maintain that fit up around the hilt area. That was another one of those design issues that took a while to figure out. You can swap out your scales to a different one. This is a daily carry canvas micarta scale. You just press that in place, go to the rear of the knife, and press that scale down into the recess, and your scales, you can switch scales, and both sets of scales that come with a knife fit near seamlessly up against the hilt. Really tough feature to machine. Here's a first ever made USMC edition of the knife. We use a canvas Marpat pattern micarta. Now Marpat micarta is really unique because it actually, you have the canvas feel just like the utility uniforms, and we left it a rougher finish. Very grippy, feels very much like the canvas utility uniforms worn, and it took a lot of work. Took 5 different tries to get this one set of scales correct. USMC engraved on the spine of the blade. That knife we're selling specifically only to verified Marines because we want a Marine to have that first one. This is a Coco Bolo style scale version made from stabilized layered wood. Another stabilized layered wood with the green camouflage layer facing outside. All our woods are stabilized because it's such precise machining to get these scales to fit that we have to use a stabilized wood. It prevents warping, cracking, but also it's just a predictable material for us to machine. Each set of scales takes about 2 hours alone to machine, and then we do all the finishing work after that. So that's all the different versions we have currently available on our website. Serial numbers 8 through 12 are the first publicly available knives that we're selling to the public. These are the only knives available to the public that were manufactured in 2019. When I say manufacture, we're a small maker. We're 2 people. We work in a shipping container converted to a workshop. We can produce 5 to 7 of these a month maximum. You can see our website and more details, aettarmorers.com. So thank you very much for visiting. Appreciate the interest.